Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 22nd of November, wherein we pick up all important news for the day and understand it from UPSC examination preparation perspective. So let's look at the important news which we are going to cover today. First is a recent study by IPCC scientists have offered a comprehensive assessment of India's observed and projected climate changes. Then, recently central government has implemented the 4 new labor codes, rationalizing the 29 existing labor laws. Ultra processed foods are driving surge in obesity and diabetes level at a global level as per a Lancet study report. And UN Women has said that 44% of world's women and girls lack legal protection against digital violence. We're also going to see some quick updates for the day. So the very first news. Now we are in 2025. Imagine 10 years from now, in let's say May 2035, we see the Delhi temperatures during the month of May rising above 50 degrees Celsius. Kerala the coasts of Kerala are underwater. We see flash floods or glacial outburst of floods happening in Uttarakhand. We see fishermen going in Gujarat Sea and they are not getting any sea over there or fishes over there. Why? Because sea level temperature has increased. This is not a movie clip. This is something which the recent report by Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change scientists have revealed as far as India's climate change is concerned. So this is what this report talks about. So assessment report of 6th edition of IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, has talked about that what are the vulnerabilities, what are the challenges which India is going to face as far as the climate change situation is concerned. Very important for your examination as far as GS paper number 1, maybe the topics of geography, the climate change events associated with geography, followed by GS paper number 3, that is environment. So what has happened, let's see, and what this report has talked about. It is something called as India's climate apocalypse. So what exactly this climate apocalypse? So the idea, of course, here is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, in its assessment report of 6th edition, it has released a report. And again, the report has been released by PLOS Climate, which we call as the Public Library of Science. This is a body, a non-profit body, which has released this particular report. And the report was basically drafted by the IPCC scientist, which gives the credibility to the report. And they have been talking about the ideas of India's accelerating climate crisis. So again, climate change is happening, how exactly it is impacting and how exactly it is going to impact the climate of India on different parameters. A climatic model study have been conducted, and this is where the scientists have given some of the reports. They talked about that updated climate model projection. Again, this is where the use of technology comes up, where again we see climatic models, and again then we generate certain kind of reports based on some kind of trends. And again, the report has talked about region-wise risk clusters. Again, there are different regions of India, the climatic regions of India. We see the western part, we see the Himalayan region, we see the northeastern region, we see the southern region. All such regions have been covered. And what are the region-specific vulnerabilities that is this report talking about? And what kind of adaptation we need to do in order to fight this climate change crisis? This is something which has been discussed as per this particular report. So let's look at one by one what this report have talked about. It has warned that India's growing, maybe the climate change event which is happening, it is going to make sure India is warming at a very faster rate. The report tells India has warmed 0.9 degrees Celsius in the year 15 to 24 versus the 1901-1930 period. So that is why every year the temperature is increasing since history, what we have seen. And the hottest day of the year has warmed warmed 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, specifically in the western and northeastern region of India since 1950s. Then this report also tells that the warm days, because we have seen that again nowadays the summer seasons are stretching a bit, and the report tells that the warm days in every decade is increasing by 5 to 10 days per decade. It also talks about that heat waves, which is a problem with respect to climate change, its incidences are rising. They are becoming more deadlier, they are becoming more broader and in a geographical spread, which was the heat waves which were located only at some parts of the country. Now they are happening at different geographical areas of the country. And the projection tells that India is going to warm by another 1.2 to 1.3 degrees Celsius by mid-century. So this is the projection of this particular report as far as climate change is concerned, with the idea of maybe increasing temperature. What is going to impact? Let's see, serious public health risk, heat waves, we can understand this. Productivity or loss, because maybe during heat waves, what do you see? Schools are shut down, maybe the different kind of government measures are being taken so that again people are not affected due to these heat waves. So technically it is going to decrease their productivity because outdoor workers or works won't be allowed. Then increased electricity demand. So the same amount of energy which your room AC was using to cool down the room, with the global temperature rising, it would take extra amount of energy to do the same effect. Then crop failures, livestock stress, because again heat waves are associated with drought situation. So all of these are the potential impact of the rising temperature. Then it talks about the nature of monsoon in India is becoming quite erratic in nature. So this is where we have seen this year also how the monsoon periods were quite stretched as far as Indian monsoon in this year was concerned. This is what the report also talks about. It tells that again, whenever we talk about the ideas of extreme rainfall or erratic monsoons, the southwest monsoon is showing high variability, right? And weakening trends in some region. In some parts of the country, the monsoons are weakening where it used to happen in a good manner. For example, we have seen rainfall decline in the Indo-Gangetic plains and northeastern India, where again the monsoon was quite good. And in some regions where monsoon was not that much impactful, there we are seeing extreme rainfalls situations rising. Example, the central India, the coastal Gujarat region. It also talks about that we are experiencing more days of extreme heavy rainfall, and that is leading to the problem of urban flooding. Specifically, we see in the metro cities of Delhi, Bombay, and Chennai. And what is the projection? The projection tells that all India mean monsoon rainfall is going to increase by 6 to 8%, but unevenly. So the areas which are not expected to get or not expected to have good monsoon are going to get more, and the regions which had good monsoons are going to get less amount of rainfall. And this is where we talk about the idea of erratic and uneven distribution of the monsoon season. Impact, of course, less monsoon, drought situations, drought in some regions, floods in some other region. Then high risk of landslides. Again, we have seen incidences of flash floods, landslides happening in Uttarakhand region. Greater uncertainty for farmers and water managers. Again, very simple understood. Then we talk about warming of Indian oceans and its impact on marine heat waves. We have seen that Indian Ocean is warming at 0.12 degrees Celsius per decade. So again, one of the fastest in the world. We have seen in the chapter of oceanography that there is a mean or ideal temperature for or sea surface temperature, which is good for the ecosystem of that particular area. But again, with temperature level rising, it is going to have, of course, potential impact, which we're going to see. The marine heat waves are damaging what? The corals. We have seen the idea of coral bleaching happening. The fisheries are going to get impacted due to this. Then ocean biodiversity again is going to get impacted due to this rising temperature or the marine heat waves. We also talk about that marine heat wave days are likely to increase or rise from 20 days per year to nearly 200 days per year, 10x of what we have as of now. And what is the impact? Very clear, collapse of coral ecosystems. Again, we are seeing them happening in Lakshadweep and Andaman regions. Major stress on fish stocks affecting lakhs of families who are dependent on these fisheries. Warmer oceans supercharge, again, the idea of high incidences of high intensity of cyclones, what we are experiencing since last couple of years. Then we see melting of Himalayan glaciers. Again, technically Himalayan glaciers are called as Asia's water towers, and they are in danger because global temperature is rising, and that is also leading to what? Melting of glaciers. So this melting of glaciers in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region at 0.28 degrees Celsius per decade, this is the rate at which the temperature is impacting this Hindu Kush region. And glaciers, of course, are losing mass, and this accelerated rates in the last decade is leading to the incidences of what? Faster melting. And again, we see what? More frequent glacial lake outburst floods. We see that in Uttarakhand region. Increased flash flood like situation happening in the Chamoli and the Sikkim region. Long-term decline in water availability in Ganga, Brahmaputra, India basins, and threats to drinking water, hydropower, and irrigation. So these are the potential impact. And the projection of this report is that 30 to 50% of glacial volume will be lost by 2100 event at the level of what we have, that is 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius of global warming. And this is very important, that again why need to fight and why it is very sensitive to maybe work towards the idea of climate change. Then again, cyclones we understand, sea surface temperature rising, and this is where we have seen the rising sea levels happening. The cyclones are more intensified. So in the Arabian Sea region, what we have seen, it is emerging as a new cyclone hotspot. Why? Because we see in the pre-monsoon time, we see surge of cyclones. But again, as per this report, the intensity of pre-monsoon cyclones has increased by 40% in the last 10 years. It also tells that the sea level rise is happening, which is again worsening the whole situation of cyclones and storm surges and coastal flooding. The projection is that events which were happening in 100 years, the intensity of the cyclone, it is going to have such kind of event annually by the year 2050. So that is the projection of this particular report. And the impact, again, higher risk for coastal cities. We have seen Mumbai, Kochi, Chennai getting affected due to cyclone situation. Salt water intrusion affecting the groundwater, the agriculture, because it is going to mix the fresh water. Increased evacuation and disaster management burden is going to fall on the government. So these are the potential impact. Then rise of compounded extremes. This is the most dangerous effect. Many times disasters or climate related disasters used to happen one at a time. Once we see situation of flood, we see situations of drought at a time, but now they're coming together. We see incidences of cyclone followed by heavy rain, followed by sea level rise. We see flood followed by landslide, followed by infrastructure collapse. We see heat waves happening, leading to crop failure, leading to water scarcity. So now problems which were initially coming one at a time, now they are compounded together by multiple events of climate change disaster happening at one time. So again, that is increasingly creating a most dangerous impact on the whole system that is very discussed. So why it is very dangerous? Because they overwhelm disaster response system. People, because we have a disaster management program, but again, the situations of multiple disasters happening at a time, it is making the response system overwhelmed. Then it is damaging and multiplying sectors. It is affecting agriculture, health, water. It is harder to predict and manage because multiple events cannot be predicted with the existing model of disaster preparedness, disaster predictability is concerned. In prediction is the frequency and intensity of these kind of events is going to happen more in the coming future. So these are some of the projections with respect to climate change happening in the country as per this IPCC and the assessment 6 assessment report, which has been released as of now by PLOS Climate. So this is something what I have discussed. This is what is happening, and this is how you picturize it. Maybe we see in the Hindu Kush Himalayan accelerated warming and glacier melt is happening. In the northwestern India, we see increase in warm days and warm nights. In the Western India, we see rise in extreme rainfall, which was not happening maybe couple of decades back, increasing in the warm days and warmer nights. Again, in the Western coast region, we are seeing severe tropical cyclones affecting the whole issue we discussed about the heating of Arabian Sea. Right, rise of extreme sea level is happening. In the southeast region of India, we see increased warm days and warm nights, followed by a compounding hot and dry extreming, and again also leading to northeast monsoon variability. Central India, where again we did not see much of rainfall, it is happening again, rising extreme rainfall. In the Sundarban region, again rise in sea level, leading to what? Increase heat stress and increase in hot nights. Maybe northeast, again same problem. So all of these are the problems which is being discussed at a region specific level as per this particular report. Very important for an examination. But they have also given us some kind of recommendations that how can we adapt to the changing the changing nature of climate change. Number one is region specific strategies. We discussed every region is facing different kind of situation. So the plan is we need to make region specific plans. Coastal region, cyclones are happening, so we're going to make cyclone barriers, mangrove restoration. Himalayas, we see melting of glaciers, so you are going to make glacial lake monitoring and resilient infrastructure. Interiors, we see what? Maybe drought situation, heat waves. We are going to make heat resistant crops, groundwater recharge is going to be done. Then again, as I discussed, now disasters are happening combinedly. Drought followed by maybe distress of agriculture, floods followed by maybe different other things, and that is where we need to prepare ourselves with respect to multi-hazard early warning system, so that again the disaster response team do not get overwhelmed in handling that particular disaster situation. Again, integrating heat waves, floods, cyclones, drought monitoring and forecasting system, improving reach to panchayats and vulnerable groups who are affecting the most due to this kind of disasters. Then climate resilient infrastructure. As we see, whenever a disaster is there, of course, it is again impacting the infrastructure of that particular region. So again, we are going to make infrastructure is climate resilient. Example, roads, bridges, power systems are built in a manner that they can sustain these extreme events, and urban planning has to handle the extreme rainfall as well. We see situations of maybe Delhi or the NCR region where again certain, maybe whenever there is high rainfall or extreme rainfall happening in the region, how it is getting impacted. Then climate smart agriculture. We have seen the impact of climate change on agriculture as well. So again, we are going to make sure the agriculture system is resilient to climate change. How we can do that? By growing drought tolerant seeds, by better irrigation system, and by better weather advisories for the farmers. And lastly, we are going to make sure that again the climate change is happening. So again, this is where we need to integrate more research in that particular area. So we're going to boost climate research and data, more weather stations, better glacier, ocean and rainfall monitoring, and improved climate modeling. So all of these are the adaptations and recommendations. That's how we can fight the idea of the accelerating rise of incidences of climate change, which is going to impact India. So how we can interlink as far as the syllabus is concerned. So this is where very important aspect. Whenever you read the news, you need to make sure I need to have a clarity that again whenever and what kind of questions which are going to come up in the examination on what all topics where I can use these kind of data in my answer writing or in the prelims examination. So again, prelims examination, we are very much clear that again the events, the data, what I've discussed can be as a form of a question. In mains, in GSP 1, we can, in the topic of climate patterns, Himalayan geography, we can use those data with respect to the what? Hindu Kush, glacier melting happening. GS3, we can talk about in the ideas of disaster management, environment, water resources. GS paper number 2, in governance also, how health and agriculture are impacted due to climate change and what kind of governance mechanism needs to be adapted. Essay, again, we can talk about the ideas of climate anxiety, human nature conflict. So all of these are the subtopics of your syllabus to which this news can be interlinked. Okay. Moving on to the next news, until now in India, whenever we talked about labor reforms, we still use that we had 29 different labor rules or labor laws. So government wanted, let's make this whole labor laws very clear, very simple. So this is where we have made the 4 new labor codes, which is going to integrate all the older 29 labor laws. And again, of course, we have made some changes in them because these laws were quite outdated. Some of the laws were of pre-independent era, some laws were made just after independence, but again, they were not changed because we have seen the labor market in the economy is changing, the employability patterns are changing, the job nature is changing, but the laws were old and outdated. This is where the central government recently, I think from 22nd or 21st, we are going to implement these 4 new labor codes as far as the functioning of the government is concerned. So the idea, of course, here is why these labor codes, the new labor codes, matter for India. Because labor, of course, is the backbone of the economic growth of India. We have seen the employment is increased from 47.5 crore to 64.33 crores. So the number of people who are getting employed is increasing. That is where it talked about the ideas of having what new labor codes. Unemployment rate is declining. So that is the idea. Number of women who are included in the workforce, because government is trying to promote the idea of increased female labor participation rate in the economy. So if females are entering into the workforce, the labor laws have to be made gender inclusive, and then expanding the social protection to, and which is one of the world's largest as far as these new labor codes are concerned. So this is where we have done what? That again, ministry, again coming under Ministry of Labor and Employment, again an important fact for prelims examination. So all previously existing 29 labor laws have now been codified under these 4 labor codes, that is Code on Wages 2019, Code on Social Security 2020, the Industrial Relations Code 2020, and the Occupation Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020. So these are the 4 labor codes which have been integrated against the existing 29 labor laws. So number one, where was the problem? The problem was there were the 29 labor laws, many topics were discussed, all the different 29 laws had same topics, and this is where overlapping nature of some of the issues or definitions came into picture, right? So they all of them were inconsistent, very complex nature, multiple definitions. For example, the definition of worker was defined in a multiple manner across these 29 laws. Too many authorities, again, that led to so slow compliance of these labor laws, mostly from the pre-independence era and not suited to the modern Indian economy, which has gig workers, which have platform workers, which have digital firms nowadays. So the key objectives of these 4 new labor codes are very simple. What they are trying to do is, we are going to make a very simplified labor law, which is going to be having one definition for everything, one registration and one return. Ease of doing business. Again, this is where these are the subtopics where again, whenever we talk about a question which is talking about ease of doing business, we can talk about in one point this 4 new labor codes. So again, it is going to do the or make India's performance well as far as ease of doing business is concerned, because there is going to be reduced compliance burden on the companies, stronger workforce protection, because we have seen wage security, social security measures have been made more stricter, modernization, and again these laws were pre-independence or post-independence, but again the laws were not updated with the existing or the changing nature of employment. And lastly, it is going to make sure that again we are going to go by the idea of employment generation by making what flexible and investment friendly environment. So let's discuss. Number one is this code on labor or code on wages 2019. So again, basically talking about the wages, the amount of money which people get for the kind of employment they do, for the kind of work we do, basically. So these were the old laws. So how they have been integrated and they have been reformed. So they are making that there is going to be a statutory. Statutory means a legal minimum right to wage for all employees across all sectors, both organized as well as unorganized. Very important, we are covering both sectors over here. And then the employer should not discriminate against any employee on the basis of gender, including what we have also included the other vulnerable section of society, that is transgender, their identity, and in the recruitment process and in providing wages, because the DPSP of India also tells about what? Equal pay for equal work. Then again, there is a provision for timely payment. So the payments to the employees have to be made in a time bound manner. So no unauthorized deductions from the salaries could be done, and that will apply to all employees irrespective of wage. Sometimes maybe very high paying employees are sometimes discriminated, sometimes they go for certain kind of a cuts. So it tells it is equally applicable to all employees irrespective of the wage limits. Then Industrial Relations Code. Again, these are the few old laws which have been reformed and integrated into this. Now, fixed term employment, right? So what is fixed term employment? Again, there are two types of employees. One is a permanent employee and one is a contractual employee. So contractual employee, maybe they are employed for fixed term of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. So many times they were not given certain kind of benefits which was also given to the permanent employees, and that has been integrated under this new labor code. So they're allowing direct time board contracts with full parity in wages. Same amount of wage has to be given to a permanent employee and also to a fixed or a contractual labor employee, with giving them all benefits of gratuity, right? So basically gratuity earlier was applicable whenever you are serving in a company for 5 years, but now even if you are serving in a company for 1 year, you are again eligible to get the gratuity benefits. Then higher threshold. This is something which is helpful for the companies. Many times, sometimes companies who were trying to close, who were trying to go for layoffs, so or maybe layoff, retrenchment or closure, they need to take permission from the government. And the threshold was, if any organization is employing 100 employees minimum, then it is going to ask for government approval whenever it went for let's say retrenchment or layoff. So now this 100 employee limit has been increased to 300. So if a company is having 300 or more employees, then again it is going to ask the government. And again, every state government has been given this kind of flexibility that they can enhance this threshold limit as well. Very good for what? The companies. Because this is how they're going to attract investors. Because nowadays, with this whole idea of technological development, companies also need to make some structural changes, right? So which initially was maybe they were restricted by these kind of rules, but again the new rules have made it quite easier for them. Then it has expanded the definition of worker, right? So the definition of worker has got an expansion. It covers sales, promotion staff, journalists, any supervisory employees who are earning 80,000 more, 18,000 per month or more, right? So all of them are coming under the definition of workers. Then the two other labor codes, code on social security. So again, what is social security? Many times employees are going to get some kind of benefit apart from their salaries. So these are social security workers. So earlier, maybe gig workers, maybe talk about this delivery food delivery guys from Zomato or let's say Swiggy, the drivers of Ola, Uber. So technically they are called as gig workers. Many time platform workers who are freelancing workers who are working for certain online platforms. So they were not getting social security benefits from their companies. So under this new code, all workers, including gig and platform workers, are going to get social security coverage. Number one. And number two, it is the employees' state insurance coverage has been expanded, and now, which was initially restricted to some of the notified areas, is working at a pan India level. Everyone is going to get the benefit of employees' state insurance coverage. With the social security, how it is going to impact the labor? So the out-of-pocket expenditure is going to get reduced with the kind of social benefits, these social benefits which are being provided by these employers. And lastly, we have occupational safety, health and working conditions code. So what is the new rule? That any employee who is more than 40 years of age, of course, is going to get a free health checkup every year on an annual basis. So leading to what? The out-of-pocket expenditure from the employees is going to get reduced. It is also going to make sure that the employees are aware about their health, because many times we don't go for health checkups because we don't feel like हमें लगता ही नहीं कि ज़रूरत है. But with this kind of facility, it is going to make sure that again people get aware about their health. These health checkups is going to give them a reality with respect to what kind of situation they have with respect to their body. Very important. And then the workers working in these hazardous factories, so government can extend the code's provision to any establishment even with one employee who is engaged in hazardous or life-threatening occupation. That's how maybe, and again, there are detailed version of this, the 4 labor codes. You're going to read from different sources. So, but in general, they are very important from the perspective of the labor reforms, which was long due in India since independence. And this is, of course, told as the most important and the most progressive labor reforms which India has witnessed after independence. So as far as UPSC syllabus is concerned, you're going to link it to GS paper number 2 in the ideas of governance, welfare schemes, vulnerable sections of society, social justice. GS paper number 3, we again on the ideas of inclusive growth, human capital formation, labor reforms. Essay, of course, you can talk about demographic dividend, because we're investing on the demographic dividend of India, who are in the working age population, who are in the workforce. We're going to talk about the ideas of formalization of workforce. In ethics, we can talk about an idea with a question on dignity of labor. So all of these are the topics, subtopics of your syllabus to which this news can be interlinked. Very important. The next topic is ultra processed food. So if I ask you, what was the last fast food or last snack you had? Many of you would have an answer, a chips packet or a biscuit or any kind of a snack in a packet format. So what are ultra processed food? The chips, the kappa noodles, maybe the biscuits what you eat. So basically these are called as ultra processed food. So it is very good to taste. It satisfies our hunger at a very instance. And again, the taste is so much good that some of us are very much addicted to certain specific type of these ultra processed foods. But as per a recent Lancet study report, it has talked that again, what kind of health impact it is going to have on people who are consuming these ultra processed foods. This is leading to the increasing incidences of obesity and diabetes at a global level. So these are the potential harmful health impacts of consuming these ultra processed foods. That is how we are going to talk about in this particular news. So what is ultra processed food? We see any food which is made in factories, not in our home kitchen. That is simple definition of ultra processed food. We have a specific topic of food processing industries in paper number 3 syllabus as well. So they are not processed, they are ultra processed. And what is how they're ultra processed? Why? Too much added sugar, salt and unhealthy fats, which is going to make them more tastier. Then filled with chemicals and artificial colors and flavors and emulsifiers. It is designed to be hyper tasty. Jitna tasty, the more you get addictive to it, right? And so you keep eating them more, and they are packed with heavy marketing. Again, this is where I'm going to discuss in a detail in the next few slides. Examples are instant noodles, chips, biscuits, soft drinks, frozen snacks are the examples of ultra processed foods. क्या हो रहा है इन चीजों से? Increasing incidences of diabetes and obesity, which are a very serious non-communicable diseases happening at a global level. So why is everyone now talking about these ultra processed food, and what this Lancet report tells us about? They are telling the ideas of increasing obesity and diabetes at a global level. So they are making the health inequality even worse, because nowadays you see, understand, this chips packet are maybe 10 rupees or 20 rupees you get it. So they're very cheap sometimes. So people who are poor, who cannot afford maybe nutritional food, they go for these ultra processed foods. It is leading to what? More health inequality. Why? Because poor people are eating more foods because they are of cheap nature. Then the consumption in India, as per this particular report, has increased 40 times since 2006 to 2019. So you understand how it can be linked with the growing ideas of urbanization. You can link it with society as well. That urbanization, lifestyle changes happening, people going for nuclear families, no time to cook food, and again relying on these ultra processed food. Then it is telling, it is the obesity cases in India has almost doubled during the same period, and this is a serious, severe, silent health crisis situation. Then what are the health problems which are associated with these ultra processed food? Number one is, we have seen obesity, too many calories we are eating, but again empty calories, no nutrition. Then diabetes, high sugar levels. It is many of them have artificial fats leading to damaging your liver. Again, most of Indians are having a fatty liver issue. Hypertension, high blood pressure due to high salt consumption. Kidney issues because it contains chemicals plus salt. Heart disease because lot of fat, maybe trans fat. So a fat accumulation leading to cholesterol level rise and heart disease issue. Then metabolic syndrome, begin your body becomes your body system starts failing. That is called as metabolic syndrome. So all of these are the health problems which are caused by the consumption of ultra processed food. Then why people are eating more ultra processed food? If people know this is so much harmful, then again why do we eat it more? This is because of these underlying reasons. Number one, aggressive marketing. Many times you see a lot of maybe advertisement which are very much of attractive nature. So companies targets everyone, starting from teenagers, kids, adults, through ads, through influencers, through apps. Maybe you see, maybe understand, let's say a gaming player or a game influencer who is playing online games, or a YouTuber, he is playing game, right? But at the very same time, he's having one can of some soft drink which he's drinking. That is called as what? These are the kind of advertisements which are attracting kids, for an example. So again, aggressive marketing is being done. Second, corporate profits, because you understand these ultra processed food manufacturing companies are making profits, because with the growing urbanization, with the growing lifestyle changes, people are demanding these food more. So technically the companies are making profit, so companies are even pushing them more hard with respect to more marketing, more manufacturing, and more sale of such products. Then regulation. As far as regulation is concerned, you go to school canteens, you find chips packet. You go to hospitals, you find vending machines which is selling maybe soft drinks. So this is where there is no regulation with respect to where and what are maybe the nutritional value is not given on the labels. So loose rules on labeling, sugar disclosure, ads to kids, and school food. Then fast urban lifestyle we have discussed. People prefer ready to eat food as far as due to time crunch situation. Then Indian government has led some initiatives with respect to the whole idea of less consumption of ultra processed food. They have one called as Eat Right India movement, which is launched by FSAI. So it is promoting healthy eating and safe food. We have trans fat limit. So again, as per the limit, The packaged foods cannot have more than 2% of trans fat, which is reducing heart disease risk. Then GST on certain products has increased because I think in Mexico or Mexico, we had this situation where again, 7 to 10% increase on the, let's say, taxes on certain soft drinks. The sale got dropped. So these are the indirect ways in which we can stop people consuming them. So to discourage high sugar beverages, 40% GST have been imposed on sugary and aerated drinks. And as per the 2024 dietary guidelines by ICMR, the focus is on eating fresh and minimally processed food. These are the Indian initiatives. So what does this report tells the government and what kind of policy recommendations it has given? It has talked about high taxes on ultra processed foods, right? So again, same logic, as we are taxing more on tobacco products, similarly such kind of taxation has to be imposed on this ultra processed food as well. Regulating corporate power, companies should not self-regulate, government should intervene and must set strict rules with respect to labeling, with respect to the trans fat content. Front of the pack labels, clear warnings like high sugar, high salt, high fat, which is giving a clear visual appearance to the people who are buying such products that these are the harmful benefits if I eat these ultra processed food. So again, it is going to help consumer become more aware and make a more informed choice whenever they are buying such ultra processed foods. And lastly, ban ultra processed foods in public institutions, especially schools, hospitals, Anganwadi, government offices. That is how we are going to make a habitual change in terms of eating good food. So very important for examination, how it can be interlinked to the syllabus. Paper 1 society, we can include that how this surge of people consuming ultra processed foods can be interlinked to urbanization, lifestyle changes, and again worsening the obesity in India. Paper number 2, governance, weak food regulation, inadequate public health policy oversight are enabling these rising ultra processed food driven diseases. Paper number 3, economy, science and tech, non-communicable diseases, corporate driven ultra processed food production, poor labeling, rising non-communicable diseases, highlighting gaps in food industry regulation and public health management. Ethics, it can be used as aggressive ultra processed food marketing to children, raising ethical concerns about corporate responsibility and consumer protection. That's how you can interlink that news to these 4 papers or the 4 GS papers of yours. So one news again can be used in all 4 GS papers, but how we are going to use it, that is going to change on the basis of the topic we have discussed here, right? So the next news is, I'll give you a situation. I think there's one incident which happened with one of the prominent Indian female actors, that one of her deep fake video got released. That video went viral within hours. It reached maybe views of millions of people, and it appeared to be very much real, and it impacted that actress's mental health, her career, and a lot of things. And this is something which is happening to 44% of women and girls as per the UN Women Report. So the UN Women Report has recently been released, which is talking about 44% of women and girls lack legal protection against what we call as digital violence. Right? We all talk about the idea of digital economy, the whole idea of digitization of the program of the government and at global level, but again they also have some kind of negative impact, and this is one of them. So again, it can be linked. Paper number 1, society, women issues. Paper number 2, women empowerment, social justice, governance, law, international bodies. Again, UN has released this particular report. GS paper number 3, cyber security, negative impacts of technology. We talk about artificial intelligence, IoT. All of these are the interlinked topics as far as this topic of current affairs is concerned. Number 1 is, why this digital violence against women. Number 1, so digital violence basically means what? Maybe we are using phones, maybe social media, artificial intelligence, or technology to harm women. So how it is happening actually? Emotional level pe, they are facing bullying, threats, in their social media platforms, bullying in these social media platforms. Socially, they're maybe having fake rumors are being spread through the use of technology. Sexually, deep fake porn videos are coming these days. Financially, they are getting blackmail threats, fraud situations. Politically, maybe a lot of trolling is happening to women politicians and journalists. So, as per this UN report, 44% of all women and girls have no legal protection against these kind of incidences which are happening with women as far as digital violence is concerned. How big that problem is, let's see. As for the particular report, 16 to 58% of women face technology facilitated violence of these kind, right? 67% cases are misinformation and defamation. For example, fake news created to shame women. 73% of women journalists face online digital violence. 90 to 95% of deepfakes which are present in online platforms are pornographic, and 90% of them feature women. So you see how this is impacting women more in the society. So this means women are the main targets of digital abuse. This is what this UN Women report talks about. Then what all things again has been discussed, why this digital violence is growing very fast. Number one is there are multiple reasons. Let's discuss. So there are some group of people who are called as misogynists, and they are maybe against women rights, right? And this is where they spread a lot of abusive comments in these platforms, social platforms. They create threats. They narrate fake stories around women. They harass. They maybe a lot of harassment campaigns are being run by these kind of people. So this is the one who are pushing out women from these online spaces due to such kind of cheap incidences. And then how is artificial intelligence, we talk about the advent of AI, its use in governance, you see its negative impact here. So AI is making violence easier and more scarier of nature, right? Because deepfake videos, they're looking very much real. People cannot differentiate between a deepfake video and a real video. They can copy a woman's voice, they can impersonate her online, auto-generate fake chats and photos, steal personal data, and new forms of violence have emerged in the AI age. AI sextortion, that is blackmailing using fake nude images of women. AI doxing, that is exposing phone numbers and addresses of women. So this is again increasing fear and psychological trauma against for women. Then rise of manosphere, again the whole idea of misogyny which I had discussed. So they are maybe creating a very false narrative towards women. And how they are doing it? By posting certain content on YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, postcards. And these platforms, who are there? Teenagers, young women, young men who are seeing such kind of misogynist content, and then it is normalizing what? If people see such kind of content, what they're normalizing? They're normalizing sexism, they're normalizing blaming women for everything. They are making violence against women maybe very much normalized. So this is slowly entering the mainstream culture and worsening the online attacks. Then we have laws are too slow. Technology is developing too fast, but these laws are not adapting to the pace at which technology is leveling up. So again, even some of the strong countries who have made strong laws against these digital scams, UK's Online Safety Act, Mexico's Ley Olympia, EU's Digital Services Act, all of these acts are still struggling against the fast-growing generative AI and new abuses. This is where the report talks about what are the way forward, how we can stop this, how we can reduce it. World must come together. So countries need to have a common global platform and AI tools which is going to remove abusive content in a very quick manner. This is where coordination and maybe inclusivity across countries has to come together. We are going to stop deepfakes. I think you have also read the new IT amendment rules of 2025, which talks about that again. For every AI generated content, a labeling has to be done over there so that people can maybe aware this is a real content or a AI generated content, right? The DPDP rules also talks about many protection, protect women's data, follow safety standards. Again, the persons who are the survivors of these digital attacks, government should fund women's right groups, digital counseling, legal support, cybercrime helpline. We talk about prevention through education. So women and girls need to be educated about how to stay online, how to stay safe online, how to report any kind of online abuse, how to identify the deepfakes. So also teach not just women but boys. The men in society have to be taught to reject any toxic online culture because they are the victims. But this is where we can bring about a change. And then use of technology for good. Maybe we have seen AI, its negative impact, but let's see this one example with France has been doing bodyguard.ai. So this is a kind of an AI which is filtering abusive comments in a real-time basis and it is deleting them. So this is something which technology can be integrated to solve this issue as well. So more such tools like this are needed. That's how it is very much important for your examination. Moving on to the quick updates for the day. So the very first news is Mount Seymour, which was recently seen. It had a recent volcanic eruption has happened over there. It is in Indonesia. So it is the most active volcano of Indonesia, which has erupted very recently. It is located in the East Java Island, and which is the highest volcano on Java. The type, it is what kind of volcano? It is a type of stratovolcano, which is very steep and explosive. We have discussed in geography what are the different types of volcanoes. It is a part of Pacific Ring of Fire, which is very high seismic zone and of high volcanic activity. There has been frequent eruptions due to Q-Hora eruption due to frequent subducting of Indo-Australian plate subducting under the Eurasian plate. And lastly, there are other few active volcanoes in Indonesia. You're going to read about them. So again, this is how a place in news is there and why it is in news, because a recent volcano has erupted. Then brain-eating amoeba. So recently, there was a kind of amoeba which was found in water. So Karnataka government has issued an advisory against this growing brain-eating amoeba, which is called as Nigeria fowleri. So what kind of advisory is this? Because the cases of this amoeba affecting the health was reported or was there in Kerala. So Karnataka has issued an advisory. So where are these amoeba found? So these amoeba are found in warm, shallow, fresh water, basically in lakes, rivers and hot springs, also in the soil. And they're causing primarily what we call as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, that is PAM, which is basically damaging the central nervous system of the human brain. And it is a disease which is of fatal nature. Maybe it is causing death. That is the kind of maybe importance with respect to this kind of a disease. And it is how these amoebas are entering. So these are entering through whenever this contaminated water which contains this amoeba enters through our nose. Right? So this is not a communicable disease, first of all. So this is not spreading from person to person, and it is not transmitted by drinking any contaminated water. It is only maybe getting affected once a person, that contaminated water is entering through the nose. Very important. Then CISF, all of you know this CISF is there. So CISF has recently been designated as an RSO for seaports. Basically what are there? So they are the ones, RSO basically means Recognized Security Organization, which is going to maintain security regulated for seaport area, that is a seaport security. So it is based on this ISPS code, which is a mandatory global framework for maritime security under IMO via the International Convention on Safety for Life on Sea, that is SOLAS. So then again, as this CISF is in news, we are going to read about it. So it is coming under Ministry of Home Affairs, that is CAPF. Origin under CISF Act of 1968. Headquarters, head of course is Director General, any IPS officer. And the roles are, they are maybe helping with respect to giving security in airports, government buildings, monuments, Delhi Metro, protects critical installations, atomic energy, space, PSUs. They are helping in the times of disaster, VIP security duties, and provides security and fire consultancy to public and private sector. The next news is UAE has talked about in this conference of Party 30. We have a just transition to work program. A draft has been released in the COP 30. What exactly is this? We have discussed enough about the idea of climate change. So there are some industries which need to stop. For example, fossil fuel industries. But many people are employed in such industries. So whenever these industries which are creating climate change is going to get stopped or they are not going to be functional, then what about the people who are employed in such industries? And this is where this report talks about the transition, where again we are going to make sure the transition we are moving towards a green economy. So that is where green jobs are also going to be created. That is something being talked as just transition. So basically it is an UNFCCC work program which is focusing on just transition under the Paris Agreement. The aim is to promote climate resilience, reduce inequality, and enabling quality green jobs. That is I have discussed. Background, it was initiated in the year 2022 under Conference of Party 27, but we talked about it more in the COP 28, where again something was done, maybe a draft was released. That is, it has operationalized this transition, which was established in the year 2022, and now a draft has been released in the COP 30. So the process is every year 2 technical dialogues need to happen on this particular topic, and 1 ministerial meeting is going to happen. The next news is GI tag, very important. So GI tags, whenever they come in news, it is very important for examination, because we have seen in previous year UPSC have asked questions on this particular topic. So recently Meerut Bugle has got a GI tag. This is how it looks like. So this is something you commonly see. Historically, they are dating back to 19th century, and again it is tied to India's military heritage. So basically it is a handcrafted brass instrument which is known for its durability and clear tonal accuracy, again a musical instrument. So it is used widely in the regimental bands of Indian Army, military academics, and ceremonial events. So what are the benefits of GI tag? Again, they get legal protection from its misuse, they preserve the tradition of the craftsmanship, and they boost market value and brand identity of these kind of products. The next news is UPI tips interlinkage. RBI has made an announcement. Again, we knew about UPI transaction. Let's say if you want to send money to one of the countries of European Union. So with this new initiative, what has been done? So tips is basically an instant payment settlement system of Euro system. So with this interlinkage of India's UPI with tips, now maybe the cross-border financial transaction, which was taking some amount of time, is going to get reduced, and people can instantly send money from one country, from India of course, to this European Union region. That is a basic idea of course over here. So making quicker and cheaper transfers, seamless user experience in both regions, and this idea of making cross-border payments cheaper, efficient, transparent, and accessible was done under the G20 roadmap. The next topic is Serious Fraud Investigation Office. So this is basically a body whose headquarters is in New Delhi. What kind of body it is? It is basically a body which is maybe handling a big fraud situations. For example, a big company has done certain kind of fraud. Then maybe this is where this body comes into picture, and it is again a multidisciplinary agency which contains many members from different experts from different fields to handle such kind of complex fraud situation. So it is a statutory body under the Companies Act of 2013, again coming under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and the head is director, which is a rank of joint secretary or above. So its jurisdiction is ki just in case a case is being given to this particular body, then no other body, not even CBI or any agency, can investigate that particular case any further once it comes under this body's jurisdiction. So recently they have come up with an update that they are maybe allowed, or they have been directed to give digital summons, because many times e-summons or the summons which was given in paper format was being misused. Frauds were conducted, fraud maybe was being done over such summons. That is why it has been directed that again you are going to give digital summons in most of the cases. Exceptions are allowed for certain rare cases. Then we have this Sagar Kavach, which is a coastal security exercise which has been conducted in the waters of Maharashtra and Goa coastline. So basically, it is a annual event happening at Indian coast by the Indian Coast Guard, and they are basically helping. The objectives are to test the preparedness of coastal security emergencies, vital coastal installations, multi-layered coastal security network, and again basic idea of coordination and synergy. So again, so they can ask in prelim, Sagar Kavach was in news. What kind of exercise it is? It is basically a coastal security exercise happening in India, right? Recently it was done over here. It is conducted by Indian Coast Guard. That is how all you need to know. Right. The next topic is National Framework on Traceability in Fisheries and Aquaculture 2025. So all of us maybe many times eat fish, but do we know where this fish has come from? What is the source? Can we track it down to its source? No. So, but with this framework, we can do that. That is all about this National Framework on Traceability of Fisheries and Aquaculture. So it has been launched as a national digital traceability system for fisheries and aquaculture, developed under this particular program, a central sector sub-scheme of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Objective, of course, is to ensure food safety, sustainability, global market access. People can know from if you're eating certain fish where its origin is, what kind of track it has went through. That's how we're creating a digital track of it. So it is basically unifying, again, how we are going to do that by use of blockchain, IoT, QR codes, GPS, all of these tools. And it is enabling basically the real-time end-to-end tracking of seafood from farm to plate and from catch to the consumer. That is a basic idea. So with this, we come to our end of today's News Today discussion. So all important questions which are framed from the topics which I have discussed will pop up in your screen. It is your responsibility to solve those questions and post your answers in the comment section. Lastly, Vision has come up with this digital current affairs platform. Please go and explore this website. It is certainly going to help you a lot in terms of your current affairs preparation for the examination. So thank you so very much and all the very best.